And guess what? We're going to interview John Kennedy. Yeah, so you want to stay around for that. Should be fun. Seriously. So anyway, we should start the show first. Let me just introduce everybody who is here. And we'll do that. Okay, top is Angela. On the other side, Melissa. And then, of course, John Kennedy. Oh, you didn't expect that, did you? Well, that's the guy. All right, are we ready in the studio to start making some radio?
We are ready.
Perfect. Okay, stand by. Here we go.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Come on, shop!
Break for 30 seconds.
Come on, shop!
End of transmission.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I am your host, Angela Smerito, and in studio with me we have our producer, Melissa Fox.
Oh, you can just call me Mute.
Mute. Up next we have Melissa Jacob with Striking Brand.
Why, hello, hello, hello.
She is our co-host and videographer, and I realized this week that you started doing the videos this week last year.
A year,
yes,
I know.
because it was Michelle Ray, and then Katie Cohen, I think her last name is. And
my little Facebook memories popped up, and I was like, oh, a year.
yes. So you can see all of those previous videos on baadradio.com under the episodes page, and it's funny to go back and watch them and see how far we've come. But it's good though. I mean, I think that it makes me happy because I can see, like I said, what we've changed. And there's a lot of stuff that we were still doing right way back then when we didn't even know what we were doing.
Yeah, still getting everything going. Yeah, no, the progress, it looks amazing.
Yeah, I'm super, super proud of it. But if you go to strikingbrand.com, then you can see all of Melissa's other work because she does videography, but she is also a photographer as well. And please join me in welcoming one of our sponsors and one of our friends, John Kennedy with Forge IT Consulting.
Hey, everyone.
I was telling John that I love having him in here because I can pronounce his name correctly and I can pronounce his business names correctly.
You made it easy.
Definitely not hard.
So I appreciate that very much. So next up, we have the networking news, and it is brought to you by Symphonic CBD. Symphonic CBD is a branch of Live Your Best Life, and they're both advocates for Green Compass Global. Green Compass products are USDA organic, lab-tested, non-GMO, made in the USC, and cruelty-free hemp products. CBD products are key in making calmness a habit. They also have CBD for our fur babies. To get more information on the benefits of CBD, visit symphonic-cbd.com. That's symphonic-cbd.com. So for the networking news, we came up with, I want to have networking news music. So I wanted to do a little true and false because Melissa's done this in the past, and it's always kind of fun, because you're just like, nah, that can't be true.
Are we taking
Like
a
a little
Cosmo
game.
test?
A cosmic? No, it's actually a chat. It's GBT
Just
test.
checking. Just
Just
checking.
flipping through a magazine earlier. No
Wow.
big deal.
Oh, I do remember those.
Fun.
Gosh. All right, so this is going to be true or false in the business world, and this is about small businesses. Small businesses are defined solely by the number of employees. Is that true or false?
True.
Depends on who you're asking.
That's true. If you're asking
the-
insurance.
Insurance and the government, yes.
Yeah.
Well, according to chat, that is false, ladies and
Okay.
gentlemen.
I got it right.
So small businesses are defined solely by the number of employees. Apparently that is not the case. So I'm going to have to ask chat what is the case.
Let's
So-
be specific, chat. What do
Yeah,
you mean by
I
that?
know, get it right.
Did they say what? Was it
I-
like revenue or something like that?
I don't know, but we're going to have to look it up
You're
now.
going to have to fact check that, yeah.
Mhm.
It might just be hallucinating.
Yeah.
You're like, it does that.
I mean, it does that.
False information.
Let's see here. This one's a little different. A sole proprietorship offers limited liability protection for the owner. This one's kind of deep.
True.
Sole proprietorship
Offers
offers it?
limited liability protection to the owner.
Limited.
I don't think so, no. I'd say that's false.
Ding, 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 ding. We
Well,
have
dang it
a
all.
winner. Okay.
I'm 0 for 2 so far. So if
All right.
anybody's keeping track.
No. The first one doesn't count.
Okay, good.
What about this one? Small businesses are not a significant contributor to job creation in the economy.
That is false.
False.
Yes, false all day long. I
Thank
think
you.
small business is what keeps this economy going.
for sure.
And I think that more and more people are realizing that, and that you see people more and more taking that plunge, leaving corporate America and chasing their dreams and starting their
Mhm.
businesses. And
Thank you, COVID.
sometimes we just need a kick in the butt,
You know,
and that's
it's
what
true.
COVID was,
COVID
right?
doesn't get thanked often enough for that. No, I'm joking.
This one's kind of an easy one too. But anyway, small businesses are not required to comply with any of the regulation business laws.
False.
Yeah, we know that one's false. This one is kind of an easy one too. I'm gonna have to ask chat for some fun ones. Small businesses play a vital role in fostering innovation within industries, or does that innovation pretty much stick within the bigger companies?
No,
Oh,
definitely it does. Yeah.
Mhm,
I mean, anytime you add more businesses and more people doing a similar thing, you kind of learn from each other. So obviously, yeah.
so yes,
And that's
Yeah.
where all those little companies that Google and Facebook and all the rest of them came from.
and
all,
they
all the
like
ones that they
Mhm.
came, that's where they came from, and it's who they buy.
right. So
Apple.
that's really what happens is like somebody smart
Mhm.
starts a small business. They do it in their garage. They've got a really
Yeah.
good concept. They start to get some following, and
Mm-hmm.
then they get gobbled up and they make a lot of money. Is that like the American dream?
It seems
I
to be.
think you just described the American dream.
Let's make something that everybody wants, and then we can sell it, make lots of money, and then
Yes.
sit on a beach somewhere.
Yes. Hello, Apple.
Yeah, that's definitely what it's become. It wasn't before, though. I wouldn't say that I'd say that's a fairly new way of thinking about the American dream.
I think so too. I mean, before it was you come to America, you get a corporate job, you have 2.5 kids, and
Yeah.
you live in the way. But I think it's completely changed now.
Yeah, and you had a good retirement. Or you started your small business and you handed it off to your children.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like a legacy kind of that. But
Yeah.
not as much. You know what I mean? People do start a lot of careers with the sole purpose of passing that legacy on to their children.
Yeah, so
Oh.
both of those are still there. It's just this was the new one.
Yeah.
This is the
I listen.
new to the block.
Yeah, and that's the way Brooke is. Brooke Bolts.
Yeah.
She's one of our sponsors. She was the first one in her family to actually go after a law degree. I mean, she's from a background of like church pastors
Right.
and things like that, and so that's that's American dream right there.
Mhm.
Oh, this is okay. So this is gonna be all right. This is of 2021. So okay, so I'm going to give you three choices of how many small businesses are there in Florida. We're not talking about United States, just
Oh,
Florida.
no.
All right, 1 million, 2.7 million, or 5 million.
Oh God. I'm just
Go
gonna.
with 5.
I'm gonna say. Oh, she's saying 5 too. Lifeline. Okay, 5.
2.7 million. But there might be 5 million now because this is in September of 2021.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't count then. That's yeah.
Fake news again.
Wow.
I said the premise. I was
That's
like, as
fine.
of,
I don't blame you.
of September
No, no.
21.
Yep, I don't know.
So-
I was honestly guessing at that time it was 5 million.
What made you decide to start your small business though?
I was working for another small business and I didn't like all the ways that it was handled, but I was fairly comfortable. And then it became uncomfortable because they weren't doing so well due to some business decisions of their own. And I decided, you know what? It's time to get out, do it for myself.
I
Be
hear
my
ya.
own boss.
That's like same exact thing. I was working for a small business and I didn't like how they were running things, just their priorities. They didn't really care about the people that were working for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I could do this on my own.
Exactly. And the funny thing is that my boss would harp over and over again. I could make so much more money if I didn't have any employees. I mean,
Ooh.
If somebody said that in front of
Wow.
me, I would just get up and walk out.
it's just
Wow.
like, okay, if I can make so much more money, rather, if you can make so much more money just doing it yourself, maybe I can too.
Yeah.
See ya.
You should have told them, do it. Do it. Prove it.
I don't know if I've ever. I mean, I did work for a small business for a very short period of time, and it was a really good experience, though, because I was in radio, and when you leave one radio group, you have a
Mhm.
non-compete, which I had to do.
Oh, right.
And so I got to work for the company that Tom works for now, which is a small
Mhm.
business. It's KMDG, and they do graphics and web design. And it was too small of a firm really to handle a full-time salesperson.
Mhm.
But they were that size, and they liked being that size. And so, but it was really, really kind of them to have me come in, and they just paid me a salary for 6 months. And then what that did is that gave me the ability to go to another radio group, which I did, which actually that could be considered a small business. But that being said, I've never owning BaaD Radio or Business at a Distance is the first time I've ever like owned my own business per se. And
Are
it's
you
different.
proud, Mama?
I am proud. It's kind of cool, right? So anyway, so those were some fun, true and false. I'm going to do a little bit more retail, so I'm going to get some really good ones in there. And if it's false, I'm going to tell you why it's false. So,
Nice.
all right, we're going to break, and when we get back, we're going to talk. We're going to actually start with scammers.
Ooh.
So that's going to be a good conversation. So stay tuned.
Yep, this is BaaD Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
Keep playing the Boston.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
It's one of my faves.
It's her, yeah.
I love that song.
Give me a
Love that
second, just
whole
make sure
album.
to start.
That
Yeah.
album is amazing.
What's that, Boston?
Yeah.
More than I know. I love that song.
I have all 4 of their albums.
All right. Yeah. Next week for that, I'll do some ones from chat, and I'll just be like, I'll be able to figure out how to word it to where they're fun, more fun.
Make them fun.
And fact check them ahead of time.
Right. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Just give me a second. My computer's trying to kick my ass.
Of course.
Shut up. It's always something, isn't it, Melissa?
No, it's always me.
You're gonna have to come over and let me do your nails, girl.
I know. Yours are beautiful. I was just looking at them.
All right, let's see where we are here.
John, let's see them.
And I don't pay for them anymore.
So that's the best part.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. That does sound fun. Not paying for things.
Uh-huh.
Not paying for things that you enjoy doing is great.
Yes.
Not paying for things that you hate doing, less great.
Yeah, you know, I've always, it's weird, but I've always found when I pay for a cup of coffee, not at Starbucks, but like anywhere else, 7-Eleven, one of those places, it's the worst cup of coffee or I drop it,
Oh.
right? Free coffee always seems to taste so good. But seriously, every time I come out of pocket, I'm like, oh,
Jeez.
wow.
I like doing my nails. It's kind of therapeutic to me.
I'll bet it is. I'll bet it is. They look real good, too.
Thank you. Thank you. I went shorter.
Did you go shorter? Yeah, I'm still having issues over here. All right, segment 2 is ready to kick off right now.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And we are back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. It is hot, hot, hot. I'm putting an extra hot in there because it's really crazy hot out there. So best to plan some inside activities. But first, a trip to Premier Couple Superstore. They have the best selection of lingerie, shoes, toys, games, love oils, clubwear, and so much more. You're not going to pay those high prices because you're going to go directly to the source. 5009 South OBT, or shop online at premiercouples.net, because a couple that plays together stays together. Oh, that's a different one.
That was a little spicy.
We started watching Ferris Bueller's last night, and I heard that. I was like, hey,
yeah.
I just did the Premier Couples.
I love that. Yellow, it's a good song.
Yeah.
I'm
All
just
right.
waiting for Kool-Aid Man.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Kool-Aid Man. Saturday morning cartoons.
My kids love it.
So we're not going to talk about Saturday morning cartoons. We're going to talk about scams and how to avoid scams. But first, we're going to do another introduction with John with Forge IT Consulting. So, John, give us just a little rundown about who you are and your business.
So I'm a 15-year experienced IT professional that's worked primarily with small businesses. And I do everything IT, from your computer doesn't turn on properly to you have a server full of data that you want to have in the cloud, to your Wi-Fi needs to have a guest Wi-Fi on it. Basically, if it plugs into the internet, I probably work on it. And if I don't, I know somebody who does. And it's surprising how many things there are out there that you got to be an expert in order to be able to do that kind of thing.
I know, and everything that you just said is so vitally important to how we function today.
Yeah.
I work from home now, and if my Wi-Fi didn't work and even my printer didn't work now, it would cause me a lot of problem. But that's what John comes over and he fixes my stuff for me.
You're
get it done.
You're dead in the water as soon as the Wi-Fi goes out on that printer. Good God.
I know, right?
Yep.
And our house was complicated too because we actually have two. apparently I didn't need to, but
He
I didn't.
fixed it.
Well, I still have two. He just fixed it so where like we could both get on. I mean, like
Mhm.
there's one for one side of the house and one for the other, but
Mhm.
it is what it is.
I just love how ISPs love to sell you more things to fix a problem rather than tell you, oh no, you should talk to somebody that knows how this stuff works, and they'll sell you a thing that isn't a subscription to fix the problem.
ISP.
Internet service provider.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
It
That was for a friend.
I'll call him out. It's Spectrum. Spectrum came in and said that one router wasn't sufficient for our whole house.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've got Aiden on one side of the house who has a gaming computer,
Uh-huh.
and then we have the office that's on the other side of the house, and so. But it's a big house, and it's like got a lot of concrete
Mhm.
block in it, and that's what they told me. They said it just wouldn't work that way.
Is that true? Does concrete block do things
It
to
does.
affect?
It's absolutely true that the thicker, denser the material is, the harder it is to get any kind of radio waves
Mhm.
through, and that's all it is radio waves.
Mhm.
And while their solution was right in terms of having more than one Wi-Fi connection in your house was a good solution.
It was just an
Charging
expensive
you
one.
for a second internet connection rather than having the two connect to the same internet connection
Mhm.
was the more expensive ISP approved way of doing it instead of the right way to do it.
Got it.
So that's where we are now. But
Mhm.
the solution worked.
Yeah.
But what I really wanted to talk about right now is talk about scams. Last week, I remember the same Thursday that I told you about what happened with me was we talked about it on the show. And just a real quick overview is when we were out of town and I got a call from Chase fraud, and it was a verified Chase number, and they said that they had picked up some activity on our account. And they told us that they asked us if we were up north. I'm like, no, we're not up north. And so they are able to tell me what was going on in our checking account. And somebody had gone in. They identified like our Zelle contacts because there's Zelle contacts in there. So John was one of the numbers that they had actually highlighted that they were looking at. But they finally chose Anna's number, and they created a false Zelle.
Who's your daughter?
Anna.
Yep.
Anna. Yeah. Anna Smorito. She's an adult, but you know what I mean? She's like I said, so they took her number and they created a false Zelle number account with Bank of America. And the whole time, like I'm on the phone and they're just telling me what's happening and what's going to happen. And so they said, this is a 24-hour investigation. You still have access to your funds. Everything's okay. We're working on it. Just be good, be cool. And
Chill.
yeah, they didn't say chill, but you know what I mean? And I'm like, thank you so much for watching out for us, blah, blah, blah. And then I felt comfortable. I was like, this sucks. This happened, but Chase is watching out for us. And so went to bed, got up the next morning, and there was another Zelle transaction that had been taken out of our account. And I'm like, that doesn't look right. So I called Chase. I just hit redial for the number that I was talking to yesterday, and it called Chase. And I told them what was going on, and they had no record whatsoever of ever talking to us.
Goodness.
So immediately I realized that I was actually talking to the scammer. At that point in time, I had no idea that they could call from the number. Like, what is it called? We talked about it last week. Spoofing numbers. So, and then I'm like, well, if they already had access to our account, why would they even call in the first place? And then I realized it was because I have a Zelle limit of $2,000. So they were getting me not to report it for the next 24 hours so that they could Zelle another transaction out. So it was a stalling mechanism, and it worked. So Chase has refunded 100% of the money.
That's really good.
Well, half of it is still pending the investigation.
Still.
Because I think that they might hold me liable for that second transaction because I didn't call it at that time. But the reason I didn't call it is because I was under the impression. So they have all the information. They're taking everything into consideration. And, so, but I mean, as of right now, all the funds are back in our account. If I need them for like any reason, I can use them. So that being said, it hits home when it's your own money.
Right.
And I told John about it, and the first thing you said was you brought up my email. What made you say that?
A common way to get into anybody's account for any type of account is your email address, because your email address is what basically any account online is tied to. Your bank account, your your Facebook account, your I don't know, your streaming accounts,
Your life.
anything, anything online. If it has an account, it's probably tied to your email.
Right.
And there's a way to recover your password using that email. And so your email address is the single most important thing to keep secure, because if somebody has access to your email account, they can get into any other account you have, essentially.
Right.
That's so frightening.
99% of the time.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that makes total sense. So if you have to have a custom super hard password, put it on your
Should be
email.
on your email and nowhere else.
Got you. I'll do that
Should
today.
definitely have a unique password for your email, if for nothing else. Banks is another one that's commonly
Obvious.
recommended, but the email is more than anything else. And then the second factor you should do is try to look into using some sort of multi-factor authentication, because that way, even if they have your email address, they have to have that multi-factor authentication method available to them to still actually use it.
That's what I was going
What
to say,
is that?
because
Yeah, describe what that means, though. The what did you call it?
Multi-factor authentication. So it means that more than just having a password to get in, you need some other thing to get in, whether that's a second type of password, whether that's a one-time password that's sent to you via a text message or through an app of some sort, some sort of security key. I actually have one that I carry with me all the time for my computer.
Are you taking it out right now?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
going to
This
show,
is
hold
it.
it up.
This is a security key. This has just a really long password, essentially,
Nice.
just an encryption key type thing.
So
And
what
I
do you
plug
do
that
with
into my
that?
computer, and when I type in my password to log into my computer, it says, "Hey, wait, I need to have your second form of authentication," and I can either use this, or if the computer is connected to the internet, it'll send a message to an app on my phone, and I can approve it.
I want one of those.
That sounds very Mission Impossible of you.
I know.
I love it.
All right. We're going to Violent Femmes it right into break. So I like that. And I like that little thingy right there. So we're going to talk some more about some security measures when we get back. So stay tuned.
You want more information on networking? Go to BaaDradio.com. We will be right back. Just like Angela said. No, I promise.
Love that song. My parents wouldn't let me listen to it when I was little. So rude.
I'd listen to it anyway.
Yeah. And now grandparenting is different, because now my daughter likes this song, and my dad's like, "Oh, let me learn the guitar part for this and we can sing it together." I'm like, "This is a little different." Little different.
My dad would have just said, "Turn that crap off."
Especially if he knew what it was about.
My kids will listen to Rammstein and like it.
Big hands, I know you're the one who stole all my blow.
I mean, they are allowed to listen to any music that I'm listening to in the car, and for the most part, they like most of it, including metal.
Oh, Aiden is split image of Tom. It's 70s, 80s rock bands, and he will blare it, and he's like super happy about it. I'm like, "Oh, you've successfully had him cloned."
Oh, that's nice though. 70s, 80s rock.
Yeah.
bands? That's cool.
This morning, I watched him drive off. First
Into the
day
sunset.
Yeah, like I sat in my driveway in my pajamas watching my son drive off, and he took a minute to get the car going. He rolled the window down. He's like, "Getting my music set up, Ma," and I'm like, "I know you are." Because
At least he's not doing it while he's driving.
That's true.
All right, segment number 3 is in the chute here, ready to go. You ready to go in there?
Yep.
Okay.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
welcome back. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Frogger's Bar and Grill. Looking for a place to go with friends or meet new ones? Then you're looking for Frogger's Grill and Bar. With 4 great locations, there is bound to be one near you. Come with friends or bring the family for some food and fun, and don't miss out on Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. Frogger's, hopping with food and fun.
Can I just say, I've been there twice since they appeared last week.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Which
twice.
location?
The one in Oviedo.
We went to Mount Dora, and we hung out with Danielle. Tom and I
nice.
did. And I got to see like the outside and like the new floors and everything.
Cool.
And yeah, they were cranking out the business on Saturday.
had
And
them-
I was at the Altamont location beating the heck out of the pinball machines this week too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Tom got his wings, and I got
That's
my
what
quesadillas.
I got one. Went one day, and then after that, like a couple days later, I'm like, those were actually the best wings I think I've ever had. We got to go back.
I like going there just because it smells good.
Yeah.
I'm like, it smells good in here. All right, so John Kennedy with Forge IT Consulting he like brought out this little key card thing, which I'm very
Dongle.
impressed with. So, how does one go about getting one of those?
You can buy them online, or at, I would imagine you probably can get them at like an Office Depot or something. It's called a UB key.
A UB key?
Yep, that's the brand. And you need some sort of software that'll work along with it to be able to use it. So the software that I use on my computer to secure it with multi-factor authentication is called Duo, which is a great piece of software. It's been around for a long time. And the nice thing about it is that for small businesses, it's free for up to 10 users.
Really?
So I don't
Okay.
pay for Duo. I paid about $50 for my security key.
Mm-hmm.
The app is free on my phone. So yeah, it didn't cost me hardly anything other than learning how it works.
Right. So, can we just, I mean, is it pretty much agreeable that scammers' end game is always money?
Yes,
Well,
that's
yeah.
the whole point.
Okay.
Basically, the idea that some sort of scammer or hacker or whatever is going to get into your stuff and just delete it or
Wreak havoc.
or whatever, that was a thing of like the 80s and 90s when it was just new and it was fun and little kids were doing it because it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case anymore. It's a big business.
Right.
And that's all it is anymore. That's all they care about is getting money. So whatever it is that they're doing to you, the end goal is get money.
Get money.
So with your story, so the only thing I could think of that she could have done differently is to, when they called, say, let me call you back.
Mhm.
That's the only thing I could even think of that you could do. But like, okay, so what does that mean? Like, if I get a call from any business now, I'm just going to be like, I'm calling you back. I guess if it's anything financially related.
I mean, for the most part, banks won't call you in the first place.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's very uncommon. And any, like, say if you do have multi-factor authentication set up on your bank account, usually it'll be a text message. It'll text message you a 6-digit code, and in that message it'll say, "We will never ask you for this."
Oh, yeah.
I have not seen that ever. Now, I do have something with Chase now that it's a verbal authentic. I can't say the word. Authentication.
There you go. You got it.
Where anytime I have a conversation with anybody on the
Right.
phone, they have to ask me what that
Word
code
is.
is.
Yeah, my bank's been doing that for a long time, like 15 years or something.
Well, it sounds
don't-
brilliant to me now, but I mean, it's.
But then
little-
again, my bank has been nearly 100% online since online banking was a thing.
Who's, are you allowed to say who your bank?
Yeah, I use USAA.
Should I
Same.
switch? You do?
Yeah. You have to be in the services or somebody.
Oh,
be
is
in
it like a credit union?
armed for- Yes.
It's similar, but
Okay.
it's not. But yes, you have to qualify to be able to be a member. And
Yeah, that's like a credit union. You have to
Yeah.
work a certain
Pretty
place or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now, like, if I were to be conversing with anybody from Chase, if they don't ask me,
Right.
what is this code,
Mhm.
then I'm hanging up.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And since that's happened, though, there's been a couple times where I've gotten calls, and it's like the company we finance Aiden's car through,
Mhm.
and I'm like, they're talking to me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just not comfortable with this conversation. I don't even know if I'm really talking to somebody that works with this bank, so
So
I'm gonna
Jake-
hang up now. And they're like, okay, and I'm like,
Yeah.
if you want to try to sell me something, email it to me.
Yeah.
The only problem with that particular form of security is that it doesn't really help you in the situation that you were in. If you were in that situation and they called you and started
Mhm.
talking to you and whatnot, if they know that that bank is commonly uses that kind of authentication, they'll
Mhm.
ask you for it, you'll give it, and then they have it.
Oh, damn.
It
So
doesn't help you.
So you just got to call them back. So you
Yeah.
have to call them back.
You have to call them
So
back.
anything, if anybody's
Damn,
asking
why
you,
didn't that's like so
anything-
just
It only helps
common
you.
sense, and I didn't figure it out.
Yeah, it helps you on the other end. It's when you're calling in, or if a scammer is calling in acting as you, they have to be able to provide the code. If they can't
Yeah.
provide the code, the bank will stop talking to them. but it doesn't help you when
That
a
makes
scammer
sense.
is making
That's just
it
so
look like
funny.
you're
Because
the
then,
bank.
they would just be like, "Yep, that's the code."
Exactly. They won't care what you say.
Thanks.
I
It'll be
could give them
whatever
the
it
wrong
is.
one.
Yeah, but you
And
wouldn't.
You
because-
wouldn't though.
Yeah, you.
And if they do that first, that's how they get that code so they can call back and pretend to be you.
Oh my gosh.
Well, gosh,
It's not
darn it.
It's not a terribly good one. It's been around a long time.
just-
People have already learned how to scam that one out of people.
So that
So just call him back.
Yeah, that's the.
Just
I
call him
mean,
back.
when I went into the Chase Bank, they said just don't answer the phone. If it's
Mhm.
important, then they'll leave a message. You can call them back. They'll text you. There's a million different ways.
Mhm.
They're like, just don't answer. So I know you heard that. So that's like one way to scam. What are some of the other ones that people are coming up with nowadays?
So one of the most popular things is ChatGPT nowadays, right? Everybody wants to
no.
use ChatGPT for everything, and in order to do that, usually you need some kind of plugin or interface or whatever to be able to use it with whatever tool it is that you want to use it with. There are a ton of tools out there that are out there for free that say free integration with ChatGPT. Here, just download this, and all it is malware.
What
It's-
does malware do?
Malware is the more general term for anything that's going to infect your computer.
Mhm.
So a virus is a specific kind of malware because there's viruses, Trojans, worms.
But
there's a
those
whole
are
bunch
ones
of
that are
them.
just there to wreak havoc. They're not trying to get your money.
No,
Yeah.
over time they can get money because they have access to your computer in some way. Usually these things are going to install something on your computer that will either be ransomware, so they'll directly get money out of you by asking for a ransom. They can also install what's called a remote access tool, a RAT. And if they have that, they can remotely control your computer and get all kinds of things out of your computer that you have there, which usually includes, open sessions on your web browser. So that's one of the other really big things nowadays.
Well, you're also autofills for your passwords.
Exactly. You can get your autofills. You can do a keylogger and see all of the passwords as you're typing them in. You can see all kinds of things this way. And if they've got something like that, say you open up and they're just in your computer and they've got a keylogger on it, they can watch you log into your bank, provide your multi-factor authentication, and then download the special cookie. It's a file that your browser downloads that holds the session information for your session while you're logged into that web page.
Oh my gosh.
And then they download that to their computer and they log in to your bank account without having to even type in your username, password, or multi-factor authentication because they've got that session token. And as long as they stay logged in with it, they get to do whatever they want.
Wow. I'm terrified. Are you not terrified?
Let's go back to the bartering, guys.
Yeah, like I said, that's crazy. So how do you protect yourself? We're gonna go to break. So like I said, I just maybe we do like a cliffhanger with that one. But so they can actually get into your computer and they can like just spy on you.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like watching you through your camera. I'm talking about watching where you go, what you do. You log into your bank, you log in here.
Yep.
That's crazy. So because that's what I was thinking that they got into here. They got to my
It
account
did
through
seem
here.
likely.
So
And they could have session jacked you and used Zelle that way.
That
Ow.
is insane.
I like
I see what you
that.
did there.
Oh.
That's for you.
Oh,
All
the
right,
dad
I
joke.
gotta like I feel like I'm like in shock right now. All right, so we're gonna talk more with John with IT Consulting when we get back because this is really an important topic. So stay tuned. We'll get some more when we get back.
Oh, a cliffhanger. I love that. Stay right there. It's News Radio WFA.
That one.
Stay right there. It's BaaD Radio. Wow, that was bad.
I'm thinking it's all over when I go out drinking. Oh, making my mind slow. That's why I don't.
That was exactly it. So
Isn't that song somewhere in Mrs. Doubtfire? Like near the beginning?
insane.
Really
in the
sounds
membrane.
like it.
I mean, there's Jump Around for sure. But I feel
Yeah.
like Insane is also there.
That's Cypress. What is it? What,
Hill?
is it Cypress Hill? Yeah. They used
I don't know names.
Huh?
I'm bad with names.
They come to Earth Day Birthday. They're hilarious. Awesome. All right. So, what did I ask you that I said that we'll talk? We're coming up to a break.
How do you protect yourself?
Okay. Thank you.
different ways.
ADD strikes again. Love it. It's not just me. Okay. Looks like the final segment of the hour. That means when we're wrapping up, I will give you 1 minute worth of music. And I think that's all it means, really. Sorry. All right, here we go.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. Rainy season is here, so don't make the mistake of overwatering your lawn. Call Rick Hall with Ground Up Property Services about water sensor. Too much water can be just as harmful as not enough. While you're at it, ask about the irrigation system inspection, and don't forget about the lawn painting service. If you're planning an outdoor event, it's a little hot right now, but if you're planning one in the fall, you need to call him because he can take care of all those unsightly brown spots on your lawn. 407-468-4295. You can also reach him at Ground Up Property Service or groundupinc.net, and that's Rick Hall. He's going to be on next week or the week after.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
I know. We had a great time. Have you met Rick before?
I haven't met him yet.
I think
no.
he came to our BNI chapter once, but it was one of our virtual ones. He's a great guy. And you would think it would be a little hard to talk about irrigation systems for 2 hours, but we had a blast.
I imagine he's got lots of good stories.
It was fun.
It was.
We had a
fun-
good
fun
time.
one.
So before break, we were talking about some very scary stuff in regards to scammers getting into your computer. And I asked John the question of what we can do to protect ourselves. And so that's where we're at right now.
So the top thing is educate yourself. I mean, these kinds of shows where we're talking about this kind of stuff is good. There's also plenty of YouTube channels out there that talk about it on a regular basis. One of my favorites is called Theo Joe. That's ThioJoe. He is an excellent resource on all things new in security nowadays. And there's also ways that businesses will usually use some sort of email scam training where they send fake scammer emails and they catch any employees that actually fall for them. And then that employee has to go to additional training online and finish the training.
I've seen that before. I mean, I've had never fallen for it, but I've received emails that said, "Hey, this is so and so," and you're like, "Oh, hey," but then they ask you a question. I'm like, why would you ask me to get like gift cards for Publix for you? You know, and that was like the red flag for me. But it was a phony.
Yeah,
one.
learning those kinds of red flags is a really big deal. So some of those red flags are bad grammar. It's super common in all kinds of phishing emails and other, fake websites and that sort of things. Non-standard characters. Sometimes you'll see something a little bit weird where it'll be a Cyrillic character embedded in along with a whole bunch of normal Roman characters. Email addresses that are either nonsensical or really ridiculously long or suspiciously incorrect, like it's almost the right thing, but it's not quite. Or an incorrect to address, like say an email that's been sent to you, but it says in the to bar, it's sent to such and such, no reply at Amazon.com, for instance.
Amazon's a big one. There's a ton of Amazon emails that are going out saying there's an issue with your order. Click here to verify. And you're just like,
Exactly. And most of the time in those types of emails, it'll actually say that it's being sent from a really long email address, but the to address will be something at Amazon. So it looks like it's from Amazon at first glance, but you're in the BCC, so your address isn't shown at all. So you don't notice that. And then not using your name in the greeting. Big red flag. A bank or any other place where you've got an account, they know your name. They're going to send an email to you with your name in the greeting.
Interesting.
If it's a generic greeting, be suspicious.
Okay.
So beyond that, It's all kinds of different IT security systems. So you've got your email filtering. If you're a business and you own your own email and it belongs to you, you can put extra filtering in front of your email system so that anything coming in gets scanned for all kinds of bad
Can I do
things.
that with my baadradio.com?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll talk about that.
Absolutely.
Referral.
It's
Referral
not even
from
all that
Anderson.
expensive.
Referral from Anderson to John.
Exactly. You should also use some form of next-gen antivirus, anti-malware. And that is hard to know off the top of the head for the average user. If you can talk to an IT pro that can direct you towards a good one, that's probably best. But if you're a home user and you don't really know what's good, since this changes all the time, at the very least, get rid of anything that came pre-installed on your computer. The security software that comes with your HPs or Dells or whatever generally is going to be McAfee or Norton, and unfortunately, neither one of them is next gen.
What is next gen?
Next gen is mostly AI focused and heuristics focused, and both of those mean the antivirus is not based on signatures. So a signature is, we've seen this type of bad software before. It has this signature, and so if we see it again, we'll block it.
Okay.
But unfortunately, most bad software out there nowadays, most malware either has a changing signature that it changes all the time, or it's brand new half the time because they make new versions all the time. So a signature doesn't help anymore.
Right.
I mean, it's helpful after the fact, but it doesn't protect you from what's called a 0-day attack, where it's brand new and nobody has a signature yet.
Right.
So next gen is based off the idea that, okay, we don't need signatures.
Right.
We need something that's going to block them because of the way they behave rather than what the software is.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is. It's like they have to try to think of what they're going to do before they do it so they can stop them.
Exactly. And the nice thing is that Windows actually comes with a fairly good anti-malware system called Windows Defender if you've got Windows 10 or Windows 11 built in. So the funny thing is, all these companies that ship with McAfee or Norton, they're shipping them less secure than they would be if they didn't at all.
Sorry, I'm kind of missed what you just said there.
So Windows Defender is built into Windows 10 and
right.
Windows 11. If McAfee or Norton is installed on it, it's disabled.
Oh. But
So because you never want to have more than one anti-malware service running on your computer at the same time. They'll fight with each other essentially, and super slow down your computer. It's a big problem.
right.
So those softwares get installed, and then Windows Defender is disabled. But Windows Defender is probably better
Than the other
in the
two.
first place. So
Right.
they're less secure than they would be if you didn't have
And
anything installed at all.
And they probably disable those because McAfee, et cetera, is paying. To
Right.
be-
McAfee or Norton is paying these manufacturers to have their software installed
Right.
so that at the end of your free 3 or 6 months or whatever, you're blasted with this thing
Right.
saying, you're not protected. You better
I
renew
hate
now.
that. I don't ever get it on this computer, but my old laptop,
Right.
it drove me crazy.
And it's even worse because those, if you ignore it, you're even less protected because you're not even getting the updates for the, cruddy software that's on there. And so you're even less protected. So yeah, just uninstall anything that came in fresh with your computer. It's just not worth it to keep it on there at all.
All right.
You're better off with the built-in stuff.
So I want to talk about best practices because that's really what we're talking about here. And so let's just use me as an example. I obviously just got scammed.
Right.
So what's the first thing I should do? You said change my password on my
Right.
BaaDradio.
You wanted to change your password for your bank and for your email account
Right.
and for anything else that might be related to that Chase banking system.
Right.
The next thing would be to inspect the computer for any malware that might be on it.
How do you do that? I mean, I give it to you, but do you just
Pretty
plug
much.
it
I
in,
mean-
like a car? They plug it in and it runs the diagnostic. Is that how-
Aren't there programs that
It's
can
a whole bunch of programs out
Yeah.
there that can do that kind of stuff. One that's really popular and has been popular for a few years now is called Malwarebytes. They offer a free version that you can do manual scans with, and it will find a bunch of stuff and get rid of it for you, and it's completely free for home use.
Really?
Yep. I would highly recommend that for the next step. And then after that, or even before that, buy next-gen antivirus software and install it on the computer. And the nice thing is that something like a Malwarebytes, if you run that scan that's just an active scan, it's just going to go look for everything once, and then when it's done, it's not going to do anything. If you've got that running alongside a good next-gen antivirus that's already running on your computer, both of those systems will scan each file as it's going through.
Nice.
So
All
you've
right.
got two eyes looking at it.
Right. So when they find something, I want to know what we're supposed to do with it when they find it. And we're going to talk about that when we get back. So we have a little bit more time. So John, give everybody your contact information.
So you can reach me at 407-318-2671. And you can also get me at my website, forgeitconsulting.com. That's FORGE itconsulting.com. And you can schedule time with me directly on a link that's there.
Yep. And he can also do it remotely, too.
That's right.
Awesome. And you can find me at strikingbrand.com and Striking Brand on all social media platforms.
And I am Angela at baadradio.com. And stay tuned because we're going to be here for another hour with John with Forge IT Consulting. So stay tuned.
Fatboy Slim?
Is it?
Yes.
I didn't know that one.
You probably know the video because it's Christopher Walken dancing all around on
Like
the
in a
ceiling
mall?
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy stuff.
That's funny because that was the look you gave her was exactly what I was thinking. Hang on.
Oh.
My eyes real quick. Oh.
He does so many different things.
Mm-hmm. It's just this.
No, Fatboy Slim. His stuff is just very eclectic.
I don't know who that is.
My kids love basically everything they've heard from him.
I think that's really cute that they like all sorts of different kinds of music.
Oh, it's so eclectic because on top of that, Christina loves pop music, and so they listen to all of her stuff when she's around. And so they love rock, a little EDM, pop music, and a tiny bit of country.
Yeah. My kids won't touch country. Anna goes for...
I won't either.
Yeah.
Right? Stay away, country. We don't want
Anna
you.
goes for classical and jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really nice. And then Aiden, like you said, the rock. But there was one funny story where we were in Atlanta. He was pitching. He was actively pitching in like a really important game, and all these scouts watching him. And he was up there, and they were playing Miley Cyrus. So got my hands up.
Hands up, play my song. That song?
So, and
Is that
he's
Miley
out there
Cyrus?
warming up, like singing the words to that song. And I hear one of the guys over there go, "Well, he must be mighty relaxed if he's just having a good old time singing out there."
That's a good sign.
The funny thing with them is that they definitely don't like anything that doesn't have words.
Mhm.
I don't like anything that doesn't have lyrics.
Who is they?
My kids.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I still,
missed
I
that part.
still will jam out to
Because
India.
like if something has a long intro,
They get bored.
they're like, does this song have words?
Immediately. Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
if it takes more than about 15 seconds to get to lyrics.
Have you seen those videos, like the reels, where they'll have somebody talking or whatever? It's a split screen and have somebody talking and then like somebody playing a game or something completely unrelated. Like this is making me so sad. People's like attention spans, like they don't have anything to do with each other. It's just
They need
another thing.
They
to
need
stimulate.
two sources of stimulation.
Have nothing to do with each other. I hate it.
I
so
catch
much.
myself if I'm scrolling through stuff. If something doesn't happen in the reel in the first few seconds, I'm like, like
wow.
something's.
You guys are tough. You hear this? They're tough. Ooh. If you don't grab me in the first 3 seconds, I'm out.
Especially if it's like cooking, like they're
Oh,
like cooking something. I'm like, show me the end product.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's kick into hour number 2. And if you're ready.
Yep.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds. End of transmission.
You're now listening to BaaD Radio.
Welcome back as we launch into the second hour of BaaD Radio. I'm going to run through all of the regular info for those of you who have just joined us. I am Angela Smarito, your host, and we have our producer, Melissa Fox. Our co-host and videographer, Melissa Jacob.
Hello.
And her business is Striking Brand, and you can watch all of the previous episodes of BaaD Radio on baadradio.com. And if you go to strikingbrand.com, you get to see all of Melissa's other work because she is a photographer as well as a videographer. So we spent the first hour of this show talking with John Kennedy with Forge IT Consulting, and we're going to talk with Forge IT Consulting for the second hour too.
Let's do it.
Yes, absolutely. So this is a subject that's obviously near and dear to my heart because I've just recently been scammed. But I've also used John for a lot of stuff at the house. Everything from, we talked about our Wi-Fi. We talked about the printer. I couldn't get any of our printers to work, but it had to do with our Wi-Fi because we had two different Wi-Fis, and it was like, I guess it didn't know what was coming from where.
Right. It was trying to connect to two different Wi-Fis.
Yeah. And then he's also helped Aiden with his computer too. So, but we're going to talk about a lot of his services, but I still want to talk more about the subject that we were talking about as far as the different ways that you need to protect yourself because ultimately scammers are out there to get your money. And if you think about it, that's their job, right?
It is. That's their whole job.
What would be interesting is to actually have a conversation with a scammer.
Have you watched any of the videos of scammer baiters?
No.
Those are hilarious.
Tell me about it.
So there's people out there that know how these scammers work, and they ask people to give them numbers that scammers have used to call, and he'll call in and pretend to be, or I say he, but I mean there's plenty of them. They'll call in and pretend to be somebody that is an ideal candidate for a scam, like a little old lady or something, and they'll go along with all the different things the scammer is trying to do, meanwhile trying to hack into the scammer's computer and steal their stuff.
I like it.
So
it's hysterical.
Do they ever catch scammers?
Absolutely.
Really? How? I would love
doing
to.
exactly those kinds of things.
And then police go knock on their door and it's like some guy sitting there with a headset on. Because the guy that scammed
it's usually
he had a headset on.
How do you know?
Because I could hear. It had the same sound, and and he even said at one point, he goes, "I need to adjust my headset because I can't."
A lot of times they're in call centers.
Scammers are in call centers.
Yeah, because it's a whole business.
Is it in America?
Not usually, but it can. I mean, stereotypically, it's in India for most of the ones that these types of scammer baiters end up interfacing with, because a lot of the scammers in Eastern Europe don't get on a phone call.
Yeah.
Instead,
now this guy,
he
was an American.
Yeah.
Either that or if he was not American, he was masking his accent really good.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, it could be anywhere. But once you find out enough about one of them, you can report enough information to local authorities that they'll go in and take care of it.
But I meant, I can actually watch videos of
Yes.
people going in and getting arrested.
There aren't as many as those, but there are videos of
They can just shut them down, but they can't. Do they actually catch them and arrest them?
Sometimes.
See, that would be. I want to watch that just so I can feel good about it.
Some revenge watching.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So with them all, because everything changes so quickly, and so one of the first things that you mentioned was a YouTube person that you could follow that will talk about new things.
Right.
Are there any other ways that people can keep up with the new different ways that people are scamming? Because that's the only thing that I can think of. Because I've never heard of what happened to her. I've heard of the Nigerian prince. I've heard of all these other things with the gift cards. Got it. But that I would not have even thought
Banks
twice.
are not half bad about coming out with a lot of good information about scams that are happening recently that they've seen. And they'll send out emails to you about what they've seen. I've definitely seen Chase send them out. I've seen USAA do it. I've seen Navy Federal do it. Most of these places will send out those kinds of things. Read them.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
got
something I
good
didn't
information.
do. I know that at one point I was on the phone with Chase, and they said, "Well, if you go to the website and do this," I'm like, "I don't want to read a website. I want to talk to a person. I want to know if I'm getting my money back. I'm not going to go say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm out X amount of dollars. Let me go read what I did wrong on this website." I was mad. So, all right. So, like I said, there's what. So we talked about the email one. I know that did you have some other ones that you had to bring up, or like I said, I think that really
Other types of scams.
Yeah.
Another one that's common recently is another email related one, but it's probably going to make its way to text messaging too, because text messaging works essentially the same way. And it's phishing through text messaging. It's called smishing for SMS phishing. But it's the same sort of idea. You're looking for things that aren't quite right. Like you'll get a text message that says it's from your bank and take this link to go do something. Your bank will never actually do that. It'll take you to a web page that looks like your bank but isn't your bank, and you'll trust the fact that the link in your text message is probably legit, because all text message links are typically super tiny anyway,
Right.
because they're using one of those things that will reduce the size of the link. But you have to see where it actually goes. If you do click on it, you have to check the actual website.
But if once you click it,
address.
though, are you SOL?
It depends. I mean, if you're going someplace where it automatically runs some kind of malware in your web browser, or download something that automatically runs, yeah, you could be SOL immediately just by going there. But most of the time, it's going to be some sort of phishing expedition. So they're going to take you to a website that asks you to log in to something, your bank, your email, your whatever.
Gotcha.
If you log in, you don't actually get in, or they'll have the website set up such that it passes through the information to whatever it is that it claims to be, and you log in and you're fine. But meanwhile, they jacked your password and your and your email address. So looking at the actual address is really important. Making sure that it looks correct is another thing, because a lot of times they won't do the best job on making the website look correct. They'll have something that's either misspelled, or the logo will be a little bit weird, or really low resolution. I mean, anything that looks fishy like that, leave it alone.
What are your thoughts on digital wallets?
They are
good, bad,
risky.
dangerous. Okay,
Risky.
to me it says dangerous.
It's one of those things that digital wallets are only pretty much for holding some kind of cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency on a whole is risky. And the fact that you have to have whatever it is that you have set up for your credentials to get into that wallet, and if you ever lose them, everything in that wallet is just completely not useful to you anymore, makes it super risky. It's not like putting stuff in a bank.
I always thought that was crazy.
What,
You lose a
digital wallet?
password and then
It's just poof, it's gone.
You
That's
know what the
crazy.
digital wallet did to us, though? Because after all that was going on, I saw a charge on our new checking account that was a auto one, and my thought was, okay, I set up as an anything that's auto is going to not go through, and then they're going to email me saying, hey, we couldn't charge this, but it went through, and so I called Chase, and they're like, oh, it's in your digital wallet. So my old card that got canceled.
I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
Got replaced with a but I'm like, I don't have a digital wallet.
You might, though. What they're talking about isn't what we were just talking about.
Oh,
what they're talking
there's
about
more than one
is,
digital wallet?
yeah, I mean, the term is not unique, unfortunately. That it's also a term for Google Pay, Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, all of those.
Right.
That's a different sort of thing entirely. And what they're telling you is, well, when you add this type of an account to that type of digital wallet, the account doesn't actually store your credit card information, and instead is a link back to the bank that you've authorized.
Okay.
And so it's not really giving out the credit card number when it's being used. And as a result, when your credit card number changes, it doesn't matter for the digital wallet.
Right. I canceled it anyway. I was like, because I never set one up, as far as I know.
Right.
It might have, I didn't do it. So, because I wanted everything just to be shut down.
Right.
I didn't want to see any.
But do you share your credit card with your husband?
Well, we have the same credit card account, but he has a card and I have a card.
Right. That's why. It's because it's the same account. He might have it on his, and it'll all look at the same thing because it's all the same account.
Gotcha. I'm getting the hurry up signal. Okay. All right. We're coming to break. When we get back, we'll have more with John with ForgeITConsulting.com. So stay tuned.
And now I have to go back and say, digital wallets of that kind are not terribly risky. They're
Okay.
fine. That kind of digital wallet, no big deal. It's just nobody. I don't ever actually think of them as that. Most people don't. Banks do though.
I don't use like Apple Pay.
I
or
do. I use it all
Samsung
the
Pay
time.
or anything
I've got a
like that.
Google
too.
Wallet that I've been using forever.
Yeah. I
Love
see
it.
people do it. I don't.
They are in some ways more secure. because they don't use your actual
Card number.
card number, that you can't steal it. If you use it on like a compromised credit card machine, they can't steal any information about your account while you do it.
Okay. So we have 3 more segments. So I'm going to kind of rotate out of the scam thing, and we're going to talk about business now. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
I like it.
That was really good, though. Thank you.
No problem. I enjoyed it.
All right, segment 2 of the second hour. Stand by, please.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by none other than Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for small business. No company is too small. ForgeITConsulting.com. And so that is John, who is here with us today, and who's a wealth of information.
Yes.
So I will give him that. And as I mentioned before, I've used John on many occasions. I wish I would have known him before we met, but I'm very glad that we did meet, again, through BNI. And so let's talk about Forge IT Consulting and the services that you offer.
So I primarily work with small businesses. I do work with home accounts occasionally when somebody needs something in particular, but mostly it's small businesses. And I do work with companies that are just as small as me, just a single person with a laptop and nothing else, all the way up to a company that's got, locations in multiple states and, 200-300 users. It just depends on what is needed. I can do all of your IT work. I can do specific little projects. I can manage high-level things that your internal IT team can't or doesn't do as well. I can be a second pair of eyes. Basically, I am an actual consultant. I'm not just some sort of, managed service provider. I will do whatever it is that is needed rather than just providing managed services.
I'm curious, what out of all that do you like doing the most?
Probably high level stuff. I really enjoy
like the
working.
investigation kind of thing.
Yeah, that and making things work that are not supposed to work together that need to work together.
That's cool. That's like engineering in my brain.
It is. It's very much engineering. IT is you're taking a whole bunch of pre-made boxes and putting them together the right way. You're not building anything from scratch. That's programming. You're just taking pre-built ones and trying to make them work. And I enjoy that a lot.
I think that just understanding the inner works of a computer is pretty important. I think a lot of people take all that stuff for granted. I've been fortunate enough to understand. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I understand.
Quiz time. We're about to quiz you.
Yeah, no. There's certain things that I really like. I do understand the way. Like there was something that happened with Aiden's computer. Him and his friend AJ were playing a game where they were building this whole universe, right? And they spent hours and hours and hours on it, and it crashed, and they lost everything, and they were devastated. And so I was talking to his friend's dad, and he said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And he took me into the backside, and we figured out how to reset where they were playing from right before the crash happened. So the last time it did like an autosave. And he talked me through writing the code, and I understood what he was talking about.
Wow.
So like you said, what we actually did is we could see on there where the last time it autosaved, and it was in a good place where a lot of Aiden and all their universe was still there. And we just reset it to pick up right before that crash happened. And I understood that. And that's really, a lot of what you're doing is figuring out how to overcome that crash, I guess.
Right. It's whatever the challenge is, you're trying to find the workaround that will get you to where you need to be. Now, are all workarounds created equal? No. But there's usually more than one way to fix whatever the problem is. And it's not necessarily always an IT problem. Sometimes it's a workflow problem that, you can use IT to help, but sometimes it's like, well, why would you spend all of this money to do it this way when you could do it this other way that's a lot cheaper, and all you're having to do is retrain your employees to do something slightly different.
Is that called a plugin when you find like a workaround? Is it a plugin something that you create to make two systems work together?
Yes, most of the time. But that's more intentional rather than a workaround.
Okay.
A plugin is intentional.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, so, but you were talking about how you have like all these different boxes and then you figure out how to way to integrate them together. But I mean, do you actually create something that makes them function together?
If they don't have a way to do it directly and there isn't a way to do it with like a third party, then usually it's more along the lines of, okay, how can we make this work manually? And it's kind of painful. Every now and then you can find a way to automate it using some other kind of software. And it's like building a plugin, but it's a lot less efficient because they're not directly talking to each other. They're going through some third thing.
A function of sorts, like importing it into a spreadsheet and then exporting it into something else. Or something like that?
Yeah, that's a good example. You can take one piece of software that has the ability to export to an Excel spreadsheet, and you take another piece of software that needs that data and can import from a Excel spreadsheet. Yeah, you've got a hit
that microphone.
a system where you could possibly automate that export and import, and so as a result, you've got that third step of needing to have that file stay there for some period of time and then get cleaned up afterwards.
Right.
So it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. It's a lot closer than some of the ones I've had to do in the past.
Yeah, but I mean, you can put it to where it's also like just a 2-click function for the office manager to do or something like that,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So that's fun. I can imagine that.
Those are great.
Yeah.
Finding one of those is so much fun.
You're like, okay, I can do this,
Yep.
do this, do this, and then that office manager does that, and then they're like, think they're super smart.
Yeah.
Well, what are some of the other things? Like, I know you I know that I can bring in my computer and you can go through it and be like, okay, we need to do this, this, and this to make sure you're safe, right?
Right. Security is another thing that I try to offer all of my clients. It's something that I try to have a security first attitude on everything. Okay, what's the solution to whatever this problem is, and how do we make sure that we're staying secure while we're doing it? So, I mean, any type of data that a company has is probably important, not only to the company, but possibly to their clients as well. And keeping that data safe is something we want to make sure we're paying attention to. So providing those kinds of security measures to making sure that, okay, where is this data stored? How do we back it up? How do we prevent things to get to it that shouldn't get to it? Prevent unauthorized access to it? And in the event of a cyber attack of some sort, how do we recover from that cyber attack? So those are all the layers of security that a business should be thinking about. And I try to offer all of them.
Is there anything that you see that's like common, like a real knucklehead thing to do that you're like, see it all the time with businesses?
And you're like, how do you do that?
I mean, it's not knuckleheaded so much as you're steered that direction without knowing it. It's like buying your Microsoft Office 365 through GoDaddy. You're already there. You're already buying your domain there. Maybe even setting up your website there. And then, I can just buy my Office 365 email directly from there. Let's do it that way.
Bim, bam, boom.
Well, unfortunately, you just locked yourself out of the admin section of Microsoft, which means you can't do a whole bunch of things that require you to have access to it.
Dang.
Good job.
Oh, wow.
As
They don't
long as
tell
you're
you
there.
that.
No.
And then if you want to get out of it, you have to set up a brand new tenant in Microsoft separately that doesn't have your domain on it. You're not able to add your domain on it until the one at GoDaddy is deleted. And it's a whole process that's a pain in the butt and takes time from an expert like me that you could have avoided that if you had just bought it directly from Microsoft.
Wow.
And people just don't know that because they're just guided that way and they don't know that it's any different.
Being sold to.
It is. It's so rotten because GoDaddy to me, I I question everything now, but I used to think that GoDaddy was a good place to go to and trusted to buy that stuff, but I mean, not so much, huh?
I mean, for that in particular, no, I would never buy Office 365 from them. Buying domains, buying websites, buying other things, sure, why not? There's nothing wrong with how they do business as far as those things are concerned. And in fact, they do some of those things better than most.
I remember when you used to buy Microsoft Office, you go to the store and you buy it and you bring it home and you'd stick the
I
disc into your little
know.
thing and then it would install and then you had
Can't
PowerPoint.
do that anymore.
You had everything and it was like once you had it and you could take that disc out and
Girl.
you give it to somebody else.
You
No,
have
you
no
still
idea.
can buy licenses that are like that. They're just a heck of a lot more expensive.
Not with Adobe. Like all my programs, photography and video and stuff, they moved to subscription.
That's hey, and that is a super common thing in all business
I
nowadays.
hate it.
But you don't have to be stuck with the companies that do that. Adobe, for
Yeah.
instance.
Ooh.
Lots and lots of companies think they need Adobe Acrobat Pro. Guess what? PDFs don't change that much. You don't need a subscription. You can go get a PDF software out there that has a perpetual license. You install it once, it'll probably work for many, many years. You don't need a subscription.
We're going to talk a lot more about that because that's a thing. So stay tuned. And when we get back, we're going to talk more with John with Forge IT Consulting.
You are listening to BaaD Radio. You want to be involved? You want to be bad? Go to BaaDradio.com.
Excuse me. So we talked about, where were we at as far as, let me see here. What were some of the other things that we talked about, John?
I was going to talk about, email in general.
Okay.
Using Gmail accounts instead of using your
Okay.
own domain.
Okay. Absolutely.
Setting up where your data is going to be held so that
Okay.
you can grow. So, for instance, that new client I got yesterday, she, because she has some background in IT, was like, okay, I'm getting ready to grow. I need to make sure that I have my data systems set up in such a way that I can grow and people can access the data that they need when they need it, and other people can't access the data if they don't need it.
Okay.
And she's like, I don't know how to do it, but I know it needs to be done. I'm like, that's way
Right.
farther than most people know.
I tell you what, though, that with the thing with Aiden, his friend AJ, because it was on Aiden's computer when we got that done,
No, it was
and
super
it
smart.
popped back off or packed back on. I think that he was like, they were like crying with happiness, and I was like, I was so proud of myself.
I will never forget the day I took an open air computer with me to career day for my second graders class, and just showed them all the actual internal parts of a computer because I
Aw.
enjoy building computers. It's like, here's my old computer, here's this part, here's that part, here's that part. This is what all these things do. And even the teacher was like really engaged.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It is.
And I got to look at her computer and find out why it was so slow. And I was
Dang.
like, oh my God, why?
What's all
is
this
so
crap?
bad."
Because it was from 1980,
Running
probably.
Windows
God.
ME.
It's-
Right?
I think I had either 2 or 4 gigabytes worth of RAM.
Oh, the
in it.
RAM? Wow.
And it was running Windows 10, and it's on a traditional hard drive. I was
Not
like,
gonna
man,
happen.
it would just be, it'd be $100 to upgrade this thing to something that would be so much faster, like 10 times faster. And it's only $100.
All right, whenever you're ready, I am.
We are the
All
things
right.
you don't know, right?
Segment number 3 of hour number 2. And
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most important investments, so don't trust it to just anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. And Liberty Property is hiring right now. They're looking for inspectors. So if you guys are serious about this is a career path, then definitely give them a holler. And again, it's LibertyPropertyInspections.net. Mike and Tina are amazing people. So actually, we'll have Mike on soon too. So we're talking with John Kennedy with Forge IT Consulting, and we're talking right now. We're right in the middle of all the different services that John offers. And one of the things that he did for me as well is help me set up my BaaDradio.com account. So I see a lot of people that are using Gmails for their businesses, and I know it's easy. But what are some of the
Super
reasons
easy.
why? Yeah, why are some of the reasons why we shouldn't do it?
That's right. So, first of all, it looks less professional. I mean,
I agree.
Just look at it from a marketing position. You have a Gmail account. Okay, who are you? How much do you care about your business if
Right.
if all of your if you're just using a Gmail account?
You could
Second-
literally be anyone. Sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I've seen some very reputable companies
Of
using
course.
Gmails,
it
though.
frustrates the hell
Yeah.
out of me, but it's pretty common.
And
Uh-huh.
free.
And it's free, exactly. But as a result of it being free, you lose the ability to do certain things, like having that extra filter for your email to make sure that stuff coming in isn't bad. You can't do anything with a free account. You're stuck with whatever Google provides. And because Google and anybody else that provides free email accounts wants you to be marketed to in the first place, because it's part of the reason why they can give it to you for free, and because they need to make sure that everyone isn't complaining that they're not receiving their email, because then they're just going to go someplace else. They let through basically everything. I mean, unless it's like super obviously bad, they're not going to block it. And it's
Right.
going to be in your inbox, and then it could be spam, junk, marketing, whatever. Whereas with a business, you don't need to be dealing with all that stuff. You want all that stuff to be in your junk and not
Right.
see it ever.
So I have a quick question about that, though.
Mhm.
Because like my or not my BaaD radio, but my mindful media group and my old email used to end up in a lot of people's spam folders. Why is that?
So that can be a lot of different reasons.
People identify as a sales thing.
Yes, and it depends on who you're sending it to. So again, let's take that for an example. Say you send out a mass marketing email of some sort. Most free accounts will probably let it through. So your Gmail accounts, your Outlook.coms, the AOL.coms that are still out there, they'll let it through. Businesses that don't do any filtering will probably also let it through, because the base level of Microsoft 365 email filtering isn't that much different or better than the free accounts. But if you have it turned up, or if you have super strict email filtering or anything like that, they might catch it, because just the language inside of it could be too marketing, and they have a setting set that I don't want to receive marketing emails to my inbox.
Gotcha.
So it could be their mail filter filtering it out. It could also be a different reason. Say you have your own domain, and you have your own domain for your main email, and you're using this other third-party company that sends out email for you for marketing emails, like a MailChimp or
Oh, okay.
SendGrid
Gotcha.
or whatever. If you didn't set up your domain properly when you were setting all of this stuff up, and it says on your domain that due to this particular DNS record that emails should be only coming from Microsoft, because that's what Microsoft tells you to put into this record, and you're sending it from this third party, all of those emails coming from that third party, technically, according to that record, aren't legit. And as a result, the email filter will say, okay, all of those things are coming in, and they're coming in from someplace that are not allowed to send from that
Right.
domain. I'm going to put all of those in junk.
Right. I've noticed that a lot of it has to do with if I'm like, I'll get, because what I do like, as an agency, we're like the middleman lots of times where we get creative in and then we send it to the parties that it needs to go. And then I find that when I get it and then I forward it, lots of times if it's got an attachment or like an audio clip or something like that, it tends lots of times if I'll be like,
that's another thing.
so
that-
I'll send it and then I have to say a text. This has been sent. Check if you don't see it, check your spam folder.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of bigger businesses have a lot more stringent rules on their email, and they'll block a lot of different types of attachments that have been known to be used for sending malware, and so I just won't allow it.
So
And
attachments lots of times are a
that
flag.
could be a flag. Another flag could be that the email domain. Say you just started your company and you just bought your domain, and your domain is brand new. Well, that's another flag. Brand new domains, unfortunately, are often used by scammers on a
Right.
regular basis. So if your domain is, only, a few days old, pretty much count on.
Well, my BaaD
even-
radio, my BaaDradio.com did end up in people's spam.
Exactly.
It still does to a certain extent, but I notice now more that I don't get that. Oh, I didn't see this. This was
Yeah, for the
here.
first month or so, if you've got a brand new domain, it's going to hit junk folders a lot more often.
Right.
But it's very complicated, unfortunately, because email is something that is primarily handled on the receiving end
Okay.
rather than on the sending end. You can do everything right on your end, and it should be legit and allowed through, but the other end is set up wrong,
Gotcha.
and there's nothing you can do about it.
So what is the process for setting up your own email? Because I went to him and I wanted, do we have 2 minutes?
No, I was checking. I was checking the camera.
So it's like,
In the reflection.
Angela at BaaDradio.com. So you just,
So the first step is find a domain that's actually available that you can buy.
So I got BaaD Radio. I was really happy about that.
That's awesome.
I know.
So
Yeah,
lucky.
Well, you got striking
fairly-
brand.
yeah.
How did you do that?
I don't know. I just was thinking something short, something easy to remember. But this was pre-existing. Like I did the URL like at the same time I was coming up with my whole company name. So it was kind of based like together.
Right.
But you got lucky because you had this pre-existing before you did the website. Yeah.
Yes.
Like the name of it and everything.
Before you bought
yeah.
the
Yeah.
domain, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
No,
usually very important to search for the domain as you're creating your
That's
company
what I did.
name because there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to get your company name.com.
Right.
Mhm.
No,
I was able
very
to,
fortunate.
but I bought mine a long time ago.
Right.
I didn't have that foresight to think, okay, if I'm doing this and I want that. But
Plus, it was like organic. People came up with the
Yeah.
name for you.
business at a
Yeah,
distance.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't come up with that. That was straight through the people in business at a distance. So
From the
that is
people.
cool.
So after that, then you got to pick, well, where am I going to host my email? Am I going to host it myself? Am I going to host it with Microsoft, with Google? How is this going to work? And what type of email do I need? Do I need it to be able to be fully integrated with Microsoft and with Outlook? Is that the way I'm going to be using it? Do I prefer to use it on a web browser? Do I prefer to spend as little as possible? And so I don't really care about anything else. That'll tell you where you're going to actually end up hosting your email. I prefer Outlook and the full suite of Microsoft
Me
stuff.
too. I don't.
and
I
most
don't.
people do.
I don't like the web browser one because
Exactly.
for some reason, it's got to do with the way the email comes in and then you send it back out. It's almost like it keeps it all in like one thing. Or I don't. I think
That's Conversation View, which is actually something you can toggle on and off for most places.
But that's from web, like
But
a web-based one, right?
Gmail came up with the idea a long time ago,
Can't
and it's
stand
the
it.
default for them. You can turn it off, but you got to know where to do it.
Yeah.
You can also have it turned on in Outlook, but it's not the default. So you got to figure that out. That'll tell you who you're going to host with. Then you got to buy the hosting plan that works for you. Do you want to get the Microsoft Office suite of programs at the same time? Well, then you buy one license type. Do you want to have a whole lot of online storage and you're going to have everything in the web and you like everything Gmail? Well, okay, well, then you need a particular license of their Google Workspaces account. Are we only going to be using this email really infrequently and we don't really care how it works? Well, then you can go to one of the companies that offers IMAP and webmail that'll cost you like $2 a month or something like that for a small account. That's what you got to figure out. And then if you know what you're doing, you can set it up there. If
Right.
you don't, you call somebody like me.
Right. Well, when we get back, we're going to continue this conversation with John with Forge IT Consulting. So stay tuned.
You are listening to BaaD Radio every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We are networking right here on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
More Fatboy Slim.
I want to talk about, before we get off that topic, I want to talk about how inexpensive it is.
Right.
I like your song choices.
Yeah, me too.
Thank
I
you.
have enjoyed them as well.
So we'll come back and we'll say about the email, let's talk about the pricing on it. And then this is our last segment. So what else you got on your?
It doesn't cost anything to ask for help and questions to find out how you can be helped. You don't know everything as a business owner starting out. So it costs you nothing to go find out how much it would cost to get help.
Yeah.
And you should do that. Sometimes it's going to be too expensive for you. Sometimes it's going to be a lot less expensive than you fear. And you can just offload it. And knowing that ahead of time and reaching out to various different people is super important.
I agree.
All right, final segment. Again, a minute warning when we're nearing the end of the show. When you hear that, that means it's time to start giving out all your info so that people can make note. And then I'll wrap it up for all of us. Unless Angela talks too long, in which case then.
Nope, I'll be good.
It don't matter.
The
True.
earlier you reach out to a professional, the cheaper it is to handle whatever the issue is.
Let's definitely say that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, stand by. Here we go. Final segment.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, Bolts Legal. Fear no storm with boltslegal.com. 33 tanning spa with locations in Altamont Springs and Longwood. Andrews Law PA, auto accident attorney. Contact Andrews Law PA today at andrewslawpa.com. And Crazy Muscle Nutrition, new address is 1015 Unit 129, State Road 436 in Castleberry. And I was talking to Zach's cousin yesterday at Cavaculture, and she told me that Zach has a hamburger named after him.
Really? Oh, I love that. I want a hamburger named after me.
Me too.
I know, right?
Sure it is.
So
How much you want to bet there already is one named after me?
what John Kennedy burger? I probably think
There
you're
has to
right.
be.
Or,
That's pretty funny, but yes, you're probably right. I can pretty much guarantee if I Google John
Bet.
Kennedy burger or something's gonna pop up.
Mhm.
So before we went to break, we were talking about getting your own business email, and I wanted to talk about how inexpensive it was. Because
Right.
what do I spend? I spend like $6 a month.
Exactly. And it's rather cheap. I mean, it depends on what you need. But the average cost of just a mailbox, just email, is somewhere around $5 to $6 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of a year, that's just not that much money.
No, I think that probably the integrity that it gives you from
Yeah.
having that versus a Gmail, it's gonna pay for itself like 30
Yeah.
million times over.
Especially with
Exactly.
what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, with the email being so important.
Exactly. I
Mhm.
mean, it's just, it's the number one thing. And then securing it's not that expensive either. Like you were talking about, you want to, and I was talking about, we want to add filtering to that kind of email. It's only $5 a month.
Right.
So
Mhm.
you double the cost of your email, yeah, but still that's going
You're
from
right.
60 to 120.
Mm-hmm.
Is that big of a deal?
No, not for what you're getting if you
Mhm.
think about it. So I think that's just kind of like the theme of everything is you don't know what you don't know. And so understanding that you need to ask questions and really kind of, and that's the problem is that like the whole scamming thing, I feel super naive about it, and I'm like I should have been more informed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make a conscious effort to do that and to try to ask more questions and not just think that everything is hunky dory and that everything is safe and everybody in the world are good people.
And that's
Because
super important in business, because as a business owner, you're taking on tons of roles and responsibilities that you don't have as an employee, that you may not know anything about, even though you know whatever it is that makes your business unique.
Right.
You know that. You know how to work on that. But you're not going to know everything. I don't know anything about HR. I don't
want to know anything about HR, to be honest with you.
absolutely nothing about accounting when I started. But I reached out to other people and I got help. And, even though I mostly handle that kind of stuff on my own now, I still, reach out to somebody to get a sanity check every now and then to make sure, hey, I'm still doing things right. Good. Thanks.
Right. So, for businesses that are launching or small businesses that are already in place, do you charge a consultation fee?
No, it never costs anything to give a call and ask for information about how I could help.
Right.
I'll come out, I'll go out there and go over whatever your issues are. I can even do an audit of your network if you need to, know how your network security looks right now. And I'll give you all of that information. I'll tell you what I expect it would cost to fix whatever pain points you might have and anything that I might think you should be looking at anyway. And you can take or leave anything you want, but it doesn't cost you anything to find that out.
Yeah. Well, and I mentioned earlier that you can do a lot of stuff remotely too. I don't even know how you do that. Is it VPN?
No, it's usually just a piece of software you download off of my website, and I can remote into your computer and see everything that you're seeing on it at the same time.
I know that's really convenient too because you can do it super fast. So
That's really cool.
it is a little creepy though because you're like watching
Yeah.
your computer do stuff that you're not doing,
Yeah.
and really fast too. So that's the best piece of advice you think is just to call and ask.
Yeah.
No?
And when you're not an expert, and you know you're not an expert, you got to check yourself sometimes when you're like, oh, that seems simple. I'll just handle it myself. Wait a second. Is it simple? I don't know if it's simple. I need to check with an expert, see whether or not it's simple. If they say, yeah, sure, it's simple, go handle it, then you're fine.
Right.
If they say, oh, no, you need to think about this, 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 and this, and you're like, oh, I didn't think about those. Well, now you are.
Yeah.
And that probably didn't cost you anything to figure out that, hey, I need to think about those things.
Right. And that's really what a lot of this is all about, just the business networking. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how much I've learned about so many things that are super important. We call it in our BNI chapter, we call it adulting.
Advanced adulting.
Advanced adulting. Well, the stuff that he's, is like advanced adulting. And then the other thing is like, getting, your house pressure washed.
Oh, come on. That's advanced adulting as well.
No, to me, the advanced adulting was getting a life insurance policy and, setting up the wills and all that other stuff. And
Things that involve money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they usually do.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's important. Like I said, it goes back to the assumption. You just assume that this is the way that it's supposed to be, but it's just not. Like I said, I assumed that Chase would have me covered, and that was a dumb assumption. And it's mostly my fault. I'm not mad at Chase at all. They didn't, you know what I mean? They can't control their phone number.
It's not even a fault. It's like things like that we're talking about technology and like these different methods are advancing so much that they're going to come up with a new thing. There's going to be a new thing tomorrow. So that was actually a really good idea. It makes me want to look up like different channels like on YouTube that are like based on that, like keeping people up to date on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Rattle off the ones that you were talking about earlier.
So Theo Joe is my favorite. Is from a just pure security standpoint.
Is it just a guy? He's a podcaster or something?
It's basically, it's just a guy. He's on video. He talks about things. He shows you the things, and that's really about it. Most of his videos are somewhere between 8 and 20 minutes.
How does he get paid for that? Is his page sponsored?
And advertising.
Primarily sponsors. And then from just a pure hardware standpoint, because I'm interested in computer hardware, I watch both Jay's 2 Cents and Linus Tech Tips. Linus Tech Tips is a large group, though, so they also have Tech Linked, which is a news show that they put on like 3 times a week.
Wow.
It just has random tech news for only like 8 minutes. I actually just listen to the podcast most of the time because they have it in that version.
You learn a lot from those, huh?
I do. I really do. I mean, a lot of it might be more consumer based, but because I've got clients that are going to have these things and have questions about them, I get to learn about them. And trying to think of any others that I watch routinely.
I love YouTube.
Can't think any.
I love YouTube.
YouTube?
I love it so much. And if you find somebody who has like a good personality and is also teaching stuff like that, it's like you actually learn it better. And it's like if you had a client who had a problem, you could be like, here's a link. Here's if you want to know more about what just happened to you.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Honestly, you could do it that way for sure. And I try to share those kinds of videos when they're super important. His most recent video was talking about...
Which one? The Theo guy?
Theo Joe, was talking about all image emails. So the email gets sent to you. It comes up in your screen. You're looking at it. It looks like a normal email, but everything's an image. It's not actual text on there. You can't highlight anything. It's just an image. And it'll usually have a QR code on it as well.
Really?
And so you have to go get your phone and use the QR code. It's a big, big red flag.
If it's an image email?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason why is because who's going to send you information that you need legitimately as an image? Nobody.
Right.
It'll be in text form, so you can highlight and copy and paste and whatever, and links will be as a link you can click on. Why would you need somebody to go get their phone or whatever to use a QR code?
When they're already on their computer.
Exactly.
A very good question. Well, this has just been a very informative show, and I'm probably going to watch it over again and make notes and like send John questions. So, John, let everybody know how to get in touch with you.
So, again, my phone number is 407-318-2671. And you can also get me at my website, Forge IT Consulting. That's FORGE IT Consulting.com. And my email is John, JOHN, at ForgeITConsulting.com.
All right. And you can find me at Melissa at strikingbrand.com. And strikingbrand.com is my website.
And I'm Angela at BaaDradio.com. And on Facebook, it's Business at a Distance, Central Florida Networking. Our text 321-303-6424. Huge thank you to our sponsors, and thank you for tuning in. Have a great week, everyone.
Hey, let's do this again. Sundays at 11. BaaD Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando. Hey, say goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great week.
Do you know what song that is?
I didn't know that one.
It's driving me nuts. What is it?
Okay, I'll tell you. It was so close to playing it, too. I was so close to getting to that part. All right, let's see. Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Little Jesus Jones remix for y'all. Woo woo! I knew that was gonna have you. Were looking at me.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? What is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.